What's up, SMT Nation? Before we get tonight's show started, let me get a little bit of audio feedback, please. Let me know how I sound. I haven't done the video piece yet, but we'll get to that in a second. Let me know how my sound is. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Audio good? Shall I proceed? Yes. Joshua, Joey, Keemon, Kev, D-Gaff, thank you. Big Barry, Geo, Big Shan, Josh, the other Josh. Lots of Joshes. Joey, Mike, thanks, man. Brendan, appreciate you guys. Sounds like Sneed indeed. That's right, Shan. Alright, I think we're just about ready here to get started. I always say the hellos to the SMT Nation before we start with the show. So, you know. We do what we do. Yeah. My brother Jose in the house. This beat's hot, though. I'm going to do the beat one more time, you know. Just one more again here. Yeah. Alright, that's enough. That's enough. It's enough of the play. Time to do what we came to do and what we need to say. Yeah. Oh, snap. Geo's got the S21 Ultra, yo. Man, that's bossing up with the phone, man. Let's go ahead and do the show, man. Let's start this thing, huh? Let's do it. What up, y'all? SMT Nation, I see you. Appreciate you guys for being here tonight. Thanks for watching, listening in. The podcast tonight is brought to you by the SMT Nation. The people. The community members, the supporters, the viewers, the subscribers, those that donate to the channel. In fact, actually, a big special shout out to some of the most recent donators, actually. I would like to give a special shout out to Ron for his large and generous recent donation. Appreciate you very much. And also Rick for his recent Venmo donation. Thanks very much for that. Appreciate you guys very much. The considerations, the thoughts, you know, just thinking about supporting a small YouTube creator, man, goes a long way. It doesn't matter if it was $1 or if it was $1,000. It's just meaningful in that you're supporting the small creator. See, that's the thing. Like, as small creators, we don't have anybody financing us except ourselves. So I don't have any sponsors. I don't have any advertisers that want, you know, ad spots with me, you know, on my channel or anything. I've had a couple people pursue, but it's important that I pick, you know, appropriate sponsors that aren't going to conflict with the goals and the intentions of the channel. So I've had, like, you know, product reviews and stuff like that, but, you know, I haven't really had true sponsorship. And the reason I haven't done that is because, you know, I have to be very selective. I could never have a carrier sponsor me. I could never have a smartphone manufacturer sponsor me because part of that is me reviewing and being critical, you know, and trying to be objective and unbiased as much as possible. You know, so that's why I've always been real selective about that. So I've chosen to ride out for the most part on my own and, you know, just do what I can handle, right? So I buy all my devices myself. I pay for all my lines of service myself with the contributions of the SMT Nation, with the help of Carlos and Pete and Moose, you know, and, you know, I've been able to do these things and bring the testing, you know, to the channel and testing devices and networks and all that good stuff. So we'll continue to do that. But I just want to let you know, any donations that you provide, they are going to the right place, right? They're going to go back into the channel. I've spent endless amounts of money on upgrading equipment and smartphones and lines of service, you know, just to bring good coverage here to the channel so you guys can see what the coverage is like here and what you can expect from these carriers. Hey, Nimmer, good to see you. Wireless speeds are much better and more consistent on the S21 Ultra. I'm able to get anywhere between 900 and 930 down, whereas the Note would bounce between 750 and 850. We're hearing a 20% increase. That makes sense. People have been throwing around that percentage lately, so yeah. No surprise there, Nimmer. Appreciate the feedback and letting us know. Anyways, we've got some good topics here on the channel podcast tonight. We are going to be talking about a new device coming to market, Moto Edge S, possibly a follow-up to the Moto Edge Plus from last year. There's some good and some bad in this device. I'll bring that to you guys, most definitely. What else do we got on here? Trying to think of what else I had for topics here. Oh, yeah. We have the JD Power study on call quality and call performance. Yeah, customers still make phone calls. Apparently that's like a thing that people forgot that smartphones do. They actually do make phone calls. I know people care a lot about data speeds and data transmission, but they still send text messages, receive text messages, and making calls is still the most effective mode of communication. We got some T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T news in regards to C-band and gear, and when we can expect to see that and how that's going to affect the build for the 3.7 gigahertz. I would like to turn your attention to a link in the description box, though, the Patreon, along with donators here to the channel. Also, the Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. Thanks for supporting, the YouTube side as well as the Patreon side, and we appreciate that very much as well. I just did the Comcast and Xfinity mobile numbers over on the Patreon side as an exclusive. If you would like to become an SMT Patreon supporter, head over there. There's different tiers. You can become a member of that community, support channel productions, and support the Patreon page. So check us out there. Most definitely appreciate it. Thank you. And we got all types of exclusive coverage there. Alex, how you doing, man? Appreciate that super chat donation. Thanks very much, dude. Sneed, what are you hearing about Verizon Ultra Wideband? I'm seeing a bunch of speed test screenshots for Ultra Wideband in cities that have not been fully deployed yet. Here's the thing, and I'll tell you what I'm seeing as a tendency of Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband. The build-out that Verizon is doing is really rapid, considering how many sites they have to build. It's also not always seen, and it's not active as an official market in some cases. For example, Las Vegas, Nevada, for the longest time, for several months, Carlos was testing it, and it was not viewed as an official market. You didn't see maps for it on the Verizon website. You didn't get a press release for it from Verizon. And then all of a sudden, boom, it kicked on, right, as an official market, like 4 months after Carlos had already been testing it. So the reason I think that is because they just get it started. They make it active. You can test it, right? But you don't get an official turn-on announcement. But it's deployed and it's on and it's active. So Verizon, kind of like a thief in the night. They just do stuff. They don't announce it till it's done. A lot of times, like in the case of T-Mobile, they're a little bit more boisterous and flamboyant and very vocal about advertising, even the smallest of things they do to the network. So two networks and companies that do things really differently. Neville Ray will do something, and before it even happens, he'll announce it as it being complete, So the companies they just move differently, So expect more of that rapid build of ultra wideband to greater lengths in the cities that already have it, and then new cities coming to market, ultra wideband markets as well. Their low band spectrum, I don't really get excited too much about low band, honestly. It's an important piece of network technology, obviously, in building penetration, range, rural America, extended areas, stuff like that. I get it. It's important. But, when you live in a well-developed city and you live in, a city where there's a tower site every mile, the mid-band is really where it's at, and it's what makes networks fast. So, but, all the low band's no different. Some carriers have more of it. Verizon has band 13 and band 5. AT&T has band 12. They have band 14. For the most part, it's band 71 for T-Mobile. It's good for coverage. It's good for indoor application. You know. Yeah, so it's important, but it's just not something that, it doesn't do anything for me. Not necessarily. I mean, it has its place, most definitely. I just don't get excited about 5 megahertz channels and 10 megahertz channels and stuff like that. Yeah, just not very fast. Maverick says ninjas, not thieves. Nice, man. Yeah, yep. We'll talk about that, Chaim, most definitely. All right, so let's go ahead and start these topics, shall we? All right. First story, and this might be something that you may want to look into. Oh, the homie Scoop is in the house. Appreciate you, Scoop. Thanks for stopping by, dude. Thanks very much. If you guys want to support the channel, you can do so in many different ways. Start by liking this video, giving it a thumbs up, and then just share it out to all your socials. You got Twitter, that's great. Tweet it, retweet it, whatever. Follow me on Twitter, @SneedTech. You can share with Instagram, Facebook, whatever you see fit. Thank you. The first story is a follow-up to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 870 chipset story that I did a couple of weeks ago. We actually have our first phone with that chipset, being dubbed the Moto Edge S, set for launch and release very soon. I don't know if we have an official date, but I know it's expected in the very near future. Nintendo 504 in the house. What up, man? This is going to be Moto's quote-unquote flagship killer for 2021. It's going to look and feel like a flagship. 6 cameras in total. I think it's got 4 on the back, 2 on the front. It's got the 870, Qualcomm Snapdragon 870 chipset, which basically I think what it is it's the 865 Plus. And the reason I call it the 865 Plus, it's an upgraded version of the 865 Plus, which the 865 Plus was an upgraded version of the 865. So it's like, the 2021 version of it. It's not going to be the 888, right? It's not going to be exactly like that. It's going to be a bit of a downgrade compared to that. The device itself won't have a curved edge display or screen. It's going to have a double hole punch for dual selfie cameras. The display will be 6.7 inches, 90 hertz refresh rate, 21:9 aspect ratio, 1080p, HDR10. Chipset, the SoC, will be a 10% improvement over last year's Qualcomm Snapdragon 865. The RAM will be faster. I believe the storage will be faster as well. Again, 4 cameras on the back, 2 on the front. I do believe it's going to be wide-angle cameras on the back with a macro and then, some other camera capabilities or whatever. Side-mounted fingerprint scanner, which is pretty cool. I actually like that feature. It's going to be dual SIM. It's going to be a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 20-watt charging. It's definitely going to be available in China. I just don't know if it's coming to the U.S. There will be an 8 gig RAM variation with 128 gigs of storage or 256. The 6 gig RAM version will have 128 gigs of storage. They're talking about this phone being priced between $300 for the entry level and $430 for the upgraded version with the RAM and the storage. Again, I just don't know if this thing is coming to the States. I just don't. If it does come to the States, awesome. It gives us another option, kind of like the premium mid-range, and that price is fantastic. If it comes to the States in some form, of a release, maybe it's not named this, it might be called something else. Well, it'll be good to have it to give people options. But it's not going to be the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888. It's going to be a slightly downgraded version of that. It's basically going to be a chipset that's 10% better than last year's, but not quite the 888. So it could save you money. It'll bring down the bill of materials, but it's just not going to be a 2021 flagship. What up, KJ? How you doing, man? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so that was just something to follow up on the chipset announcement that I had on the Patreon page. That kind of serves as a follow-up to that. All right, next story. This one here. This one is actually on call quality. Not something that really, always gets much attention. I mean, think about it, right? Most of us are doing most of our activities through apps in the form of data transmission. So really what we care about is, consistency in our data speeds to keep our apps moving, right? So I make phone calls. I know a lot of people I know make phone calls. There's also a generation of users that typically stick to data usage. Hey, Rubes, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming through. Phoenix in the house. Anyways, this study out of J.D. Power, this is the 2021 Wireless Network Quality Study. Fewest call issues of all the carriers. Verizon, number 1. AT&T, number 2. T-Mobile, number 3. And Sprint, number 4. I think they included Sprint because, Sprint started the year in 2020 as a standalone company, later on merging with T-Mobile, but they counted the data anyways. Plus, for most of the year, the Sprint network was operating on its own. So, fewest call issues to Verizon. Verizon had the least number of call issues related to calling per 100 calls. So, this gives Verizon Wireless the crown of King of Calling 13 years in a row, according to J.D. Power studies. 33,000 wireless customers were involved and surveyed between the months of July and December of 2020. It's pretty clear that devices are no longer the restriction or the issue in calling. The limiting factor in call quality is 100%, and pretty much a foregone conclusion. It's up to the carrier. Back when I had my Sprint line, Sprint was a terrible calling. I remember somebody telling me, they were telling me, are you on like a phone from like World War II? When I used to call on Sprint. When I call on T-Mobile, they tell me it's hit or miss. Some people tell me it's not that clear. So I don't know if that, is the same experience for others. But that seems to jive with this particular survey. My call quality on AT&T is decent. It's not bad. It is definitely HD calling, so it's upgraded from the old calling of yesteryear. Hey, James. And Verizon by far has the best calling. I think it has to do with their tower density. I also think it has to do with the technologies they utilize, some of the different audio codecs and so on. I think their adoption of HD calling and how far they've come along with it is the reason why they have the best call quality and call sound. The one thing my brother tells me, and he's been a T-Mobile customer for the better part of the last 4 years, maybe 5 years, because he's got a T-Mobile One line. He tells me that the only thing he really misses about Verizon is the call quality. But other than that, he's happy with his T-Mobile line. Loves the capacity, loves the access. No troubles there. He just says that's the one thing he can honestly say that Verizon does the best, which is call quality. And he misses that. And honestly, that is the truth. Verizon does have incredible call quality. They've got an incredible tower density grid, so the handoffs are super clean. And there's always that redundancy. Keeps the call quality A1, A+. And the survey results show it. Let's go ahead and take a look at this next story. This one's out of C Spire. I typically don't comment too much on like home internet providers. Sometimes I do when it comes to like competition with fixed home wireless and stuff like that, but not usually. The C Spire story is interesting because this is going to be an upgrade to rural American customers, which is great. I really like reporting this kind of stuff because oftentimes rural America customers, and oftentimes it's even states in the South, to kind of even emphasize, drive the point home even more. It's going to help people get connected. It's going to give people better internet options. It's going to give people in these states and this part of the country, in this region, fiber in places that never really had it. These places typically don't even have good coaxial build out. These places are typically on like DSL connections, and some of their options might be satellite, which is terrible. We know how bad those offers are. Anyways, C Spire is a home internet provider, home internet services, number 6 home ISP in the country. They're going to be building out in 2 countries over the course of the next half a decade. So in the next 3 to 5 years, we should see huge fiber build-outs in Alabama and Mississippi. If you are a resident of those 2 states and you don't have decent offers for home internet, that might be changing for you. So that'll be incredible. Southern, rural United States, you'll be able to get these remarkable improvements because if you're coming at a DSL, fiber is a game changer, right? $500 million will be spent in Alabama over the next 3 years. I believe Mississippi will receive its own $500 million build-out number. They're going to be using the fiber to push 5G build-outs and networks in those areas, as well as gigabit home internet to residents of Mississippi and Alabama. This is probably going to impact anywhere between 200,000 and 250,000 home residents of these states, as well as businesses in these states. So in the next 4 years, you're going to see a complete transcendental change in these two states in fiber build. So rural America is going to see improvements in networking. It's going to allow them to catch up because they most definitely are behind. Not only do those customers that live in those places not have fiber, but in most cases they don't even have coaxial. So like I said, this is going to be an incredible change for these people. Let's just think about it like this. If there's a huge improvement in infrastructure in these two states, we're going to see improvements in 5G build, which is going to help wireless and wireline. We're going to see changes and huge improvements to people in their work environments. So think about the pandemic, right? Work situations, work from home, education from home with schools and kids. They're probably going through it right now. They simply don't have bandwidth, right? Imagine having DSL and you have like 3 kids at home and you have 5 megabits down and 1 megabit up. How do you do Zoom calls? You can't even do one Zoom call with 1 megabit per second, let alone if you have 3 kids on 3 different devices. So this should really help those people that live in Alabama and Mississippi who have been behind for years and have gotten no attention from carriers or any attention from wireless home internet service providers. So goodbye ceasefire. I hope the FCC pushes the issue, holds them to it, and the states and the legislators see what these companies should be doing for these people in these states. So if you're a Mississippi resident, if you are a Alabama resident, hopefully that comes to you very soon. They're saying big infrastructure gains in 2021 and huge gains over the next 5 years. All right, good. You take a sip of water and we'll get to the next story, y'all. Transcendental, Joshua. Yes, sir. So, KJ, I'm guessing that Verizon used to be there in certain places and then they sold to Frontier or something like that. All right. The next situation here, this is pretty good stuff. This is going to affect T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T because they all will be deploying C-band. All right, so C-band 3.7 gigahertz, 5G spectrum, Goldilocks 5G as they say. Nokia is ready to flood the carrier market with C-band hardware. So, we should expect to see big-time deployments of the hardware. Carriers are going to be able to get their hands on this gear as early as this summer. They're talking about indoor and outdoor hardware, which are apparently different. They have like different goals and what they have to do and their propagation characteristics and the base stations and stuff like that. So the hardware is going to be the AirScale radio technologies variation, massive MIMO antennas, hybrid antennas with passive and active radio platforms on the same unit. So that gives you some flexibility, right? Probably can kind of bring the size of the units down. I'm guessing that might be, some spacing, restraints that some towers might have in some indoor setups. But yeah, the radio heads for the traditional macro sites, all that stuff's going to be there. Small cells, macros, all that. Non-standalone and standalone compatible, traditional and cloud-based RAN systems and Open RAN were mentioned in this announcement. C-band is exciting, y'all. We're talking about super wide 5G channels coming to the market, and the hardware from Nokia looks ready. I haven't really seen anything from Ericsson just yet for C-band. Maybe that's already been, sent to carriers for testing. I don't know. I'll look for some of that. I'll look to see if Samsung's getting involved. I know they are for the nodes, for millimeter wave. But this is the stuff I'm really excited about because I do think that C-band is going to be the big thing for 5G. And it really doesn't matter. It's going to be big for Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And it's going to force the issue. They're going to have to densify to make C-band work. But if you do it right, it's going to be tremendous. So the hardware is ready for C-band. We're probably going to find out who got how much C-band and where in like the next 5 weeks. I think word on the street is, I think at the end of February. Because the last I checked, they said 6 weeks. That might have been like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks. So I'm going to check. I'm going to sniff around. I'm going to see if I can find out, the exact date on when that, when that news will come to the public, and I'll make it available to you guys, and I'll bring it to the channel, and I'll update you. But it's most definitely happening in February. So I'll keep you posted. The sooner the better, obviously. And we're expecting deployments, official and national deployments in December of this year. But there will be testing going on all year long. Don't be surprised if, like, you're on Twitter and people are sharing pictures and photos and videos of C-band radios and radio heads and base stations being built, and who knows, maybe even small cells, with CBRS and C-band and things like that. All that's going to be happening throughout the year. I'll be posting it if I see anything. I know that others will be sending me, photos and images on Twitter. Guys in the New York markets, people in Philly and Boston, they most definitely will share them. So I think Josh was right. C-band will take the shackles off mid-band. I think he's right. The shackles shall be removed. But it's good to see Nokia involved. I just don't know how effective the hardware is going to be because engineers have not really been too keen to Nokia hardware and software. They've been saying that things have been kind of problematic. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe this is how Nokia is going to turn things around. I don't know. And all it really takes is a couple of good bounces, and then things could be awesome. No radio. Adam, my dude. Ericsson doing multi-gig on C-band. Sheesh. Super psyched about that. And I wonder what the width of that channel is. Because we're seeing 60 and 80 megahertz doing half a gig on 2.5. So what's C-band doing? Like, we talking 100 megahertz channel, 120? Are we talking non-standalone? Are we talking standalone? Where's that at? Yeah, I'd love to see those details. Pete, let's go ahead and talk about that. That AT&T story is hilarious, man. I don't know. I feel like it's very fitting that AT&T is getting sued. Do you really want me to talk about the AT&T lawsuit story? It's funny. It's good. I think you guys will get a kick out of it. It definitely has an AT&T feel to it, honestly. So no surprises there, actually. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, 100 megahertz channels. Nice. Okay. All right. So AT&T, the quote from the company that's suing them, AT&T stole our technology. That's the quote. All right. AT&T is getting sued for the amount of $1.35 billion. A product called NumberSync, using technologies by AT&T, is being scrutinized by Network Apps LLC as being stolen by AT&T, a twinning technology where it pairs like wearables and tablets to phones for answering and taking phone calls. AT&T had a partnership with the company using that technology. I think in 2014 or 2015, they ended up abandoning it out of like paying royalties. They didn't want to pay the royalty fees anymore or something like that. So what AT&T did was they ended up like relaunching the technology on its own, and that's where all this lies. So basically the company is saying, AT&T was with us on this technology. They were using it. We were doing this together in partnership, and then AT&T kind of bailed on it because they didn't want to pay the royalty fees to the company. So I think this is a situation where AT&T is just like, we don't want to pay anymore. Let's get out of this. And let's like relaunch it on our own. And guys, it sounds viable. Like this story is believable. It's very possible that AT&T did this. I'm not saying they did with certainty. I'm just saying this is going to court, and we'll find out how it turns out. But you know, they said that AT&T when they relaunched it as Number Sync, it had the same inventors, so basically the same intelligence, the same people, same strategies, same technologies. The only thing that was different were some of the cosmetics. You know, so AT&T hasn't paid royalties on the technology since 2015. The company is suing AT&T for $450 million in damages, times 3, on claims of infringement, and future royalty payments must be paid to the company. Again, the company literally said AT&T stole our technology. The case is pending in a Manhattan federal court as we speak. Apple Watch says it sounds like a Randall Stevenson special. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's believable because I really do feel like stuff like this happens all the time, because it sounds like they even took the people who invented it at the original company, and then they used those people, that intelligence, those individuals, as a team to do it again on their platform. So, yeah, CP, I think this is very possible. I mean, since when has AT&T been known as a stand-up company? You know, their idea of competition is no competition, right? That's their pedigree. So I would not be surprised. Not that I'm trying to say, like, all of AT&T is bad. They obviously have a very good network. They become more consumer-friendly. But, I mean, this is from 2015 or whatever, 2014. You know, they don't always operate as a good company. So just saying, it's possible. We'll see what happens. I'll follow up if you guys really want me to, but that's a lot of money. $1.3 billion. If that company deserves it, I hope they get it. If they're just fishing, you know, if they're just gold digging, I hope they don't get it. You know, but whatever. All right, next story. This one is a huge announcement relative to Verizon and their network build-out. Verizon Wireless has gone ahead and extended its business relations with the tower company Crown Castle. The deal itself is for 15,000 small cells. The deal is for a period of time spanning 4 years, fresh on the heels of T-Mobile canceling a pending deal with the company Crown Castle. So essentially what happened is there was a lot of concerns at Crown Castle. I'm sure a lot of investors were probably worried, hey, we missed out on this T-Mobile deal. They canceled it, you know, in the T-Mobile and Sprint merger piece, kind of implicated here. Verizon comes in and makes this awesome deal that really rocks their world. So the Verizon and Crown Castle business relationship obviously is strengthened in this case, and I think this shows that Verizon is taking 5G tower densification to the next level. The nice thing about these small cells being, you know, their position, their location, and where they can put them, now with the FCC rules as they are, they can slap this onto infrastructure, you know, power poles and street lights and stuff like that. Really, really easy. You guys see what's up here on the screen. That's just a light pole, and it's got millimeter wave nodes on it. You know, we're talking about situations like this. So these are basically going to be C-RAN sites where you're going to see LTE upgrades, band 48, band 46, and then you're going to see C-band updates as well, upgrades. So Crown Castle is going to be a big part of this. And it looks like Verizon's ready to take densification to the next level. And this is not going to be the only deal Verizon has, right? They're going to make deals with American Tower. They're going to have Crown Castle, right? They're going to have other companies involved. They're going to try to do their own sites and their own, you know, builds in neighborhoods and cities and stuff like that. So obviously they're just going to do big things with millimeter wave. So building out is going to be a big piece of what they do. This is the largest small cell deal in Crown Castle history. So it gives you scale, give you an understanding of how much is being built out here. The T-Mobile cancellation of small cells was a Sprint complication, if you think about it. I think in this case, Sprint was the one who had the deal in place. The Sprint deal with Crown Castle was probably a situation where, you know, the deal was for like 6,000 small cells on the Sprint side. Obviously, that was planned for 2021, but with the merger in place, there's no longer that need because a lot of that would be waste. T-Mobile says that the builds would overlap with their own small cells and is just not necessary. So Crown Castle would obviously like to co-locate these locations, make more deals with T-Mobile and AT&T along with Verizon. Possibly we see some action with Dish. That'll be pretty awesome as well. Nikki, it's interesting because I've often said that the only company for the longest time that truly embraced the grind of true tower densification has been Verizon. They've been forced to do so because they don't hold the spectrum. The only way for them to deal with their network congestion is with densification. You just got to put a tower site every mile. And in some cases, you got to put a micro cell or a mini small cell in between tower sites to deal with it. So they have embraced the grind out of necessity. And I think that the other carriers are kind of coming to understand this. Maybe not so much T-Mobile. Eventually they will. But I think AT&T has. Right? So Crown Castle has 30,000 small cells that are warehoused and backlogged. And they want to build those out over the course of the next 3 years. I believe the pace is to do 10,000 annual for the next 3 years. And Verizon is indeed taking 5G densification very seriously. Don't be surprised if most of what Verizon does this year with Crown Castle are two types of upgrades, CBRS and C-band. And I think they're going to go together. I think you're going to see LTE upgrades in the form of CBRS. And I think you're going to see a lot of the C-band as well. The nice thing about the C-band, that'll be high power. The CBRS will be a lower power, but it's still going to be effective for the LTE side. It's still going to offer capacity and boosting when it fits the situation. Verizon already said we're doing indoor, we're doing outdoor, both in CBRS and in C-band. So let the games begin. Verizon will continue to push the envelope with densification. They'll continue to push the envelope with microcells and small cells and upgrading tower sites. They have no choice. They have huge market share. They don't want to lose their customers, and they're just going to have to do it. The other carriers probably don't feel the pressure as much. They'll densify, but they're probably going to do it at a more reasonable pace. I think Verizon is going to be forced to do it at an accelerated pace because of their spectrum position. Their back's up against it. If Verizon doesn't build out the tower density, their network can't handle. I'm watching Moose's live stream today on Twitter, right, on Periscope. He's literally showing me speed tests in LA, in different parts of LA, suburbs, outskirts. He's showing me Verizon getting 30 megabits per second, 80 megabits per second, 8 megabits per second, 2 megabits per second. Those fluctuations are due to certain tower sites being congested. Verizon's most definitely going to obviously have to build out millimeter wave, but the C-band's going to be huge for places like that. Those microcells going everywhere is going to be huge for the network capacity. They're going to be doing that at a sickening pace next year, right? And this year too, right? They're going to be putting CBRS wherever they can. They're going to be putting millimeter wave nodes wherever. They're dealing with congestion. It is real. You do a speed test in LA. People are showing me, 5 megabits per second down and 50 up. Clearly, they need downlink help, right? There's just too many people on the network in a big-time market. I don't know if this happens in New York City. I can't comment on it. That's just speaking to the Los Angeles speed testing that Moose did. A lot of people don't understand this, but really the only thing that Verizon needs to do is pretty much going to be upgrading sites, and their network is going to be exponentially better once they deploy CBRS and C-band. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Nikki, is what I'm seeing in CBRS. It's absolutely incredible. We'll talk at a later time. I know you're a big fan and a proponent of CBRS, and I don't know if people truly understand that it is going to be a game changer this year, right? As soon as those tower sites and those micros get updated, CBRS is going to do some big things for Verizon just because their tower density. They literally have a site like every mile, a macro. And then, like I said, sometimes in between those two sites in that mile, you'll also see a small cell in there. I'm starting to see CBRS all over the place. I've seen it in Corn Country, Ohio. I've seen it in cities. I've seen it on city blocks. I've seen it near bars, restaurants, schools. It's everywhere now. And I'm just talking about Cleveland, right? I haven't talked about Detroit. I haven't mentioned, Columbus. I'm actually probably going to be taking a trip soon where I'll be checking out a couple of different markets. I'm taking all my phones with me. I'm going to test all of them. We're going to see what Verizon is about in 2021, because a lot of people think they haven't been upgrading the network because they seem to be congesting. That does not mean they're not upgrading the network. That just means people's data demands are increasing. Verizon spends upward of $18.5 billion a year on their network, and they're going to do it again in 2021. Verizon's problem is not infrastructure. They've got their own fiber. They're deploying microcells. They're deploying macro cells. They're upgrading at a sick pace. They simply are spectrum starved. They don't have it. And it's kind of on them. It is Verizon's fault. They could have successfully bid on more spectrum in 2015. They could have. But they didn't. And they had a very high market share, and they still do. They needed more. Dish ended up getting a lot out of that. They spent the same amount as Verizon. Verizon, turns out they needed more. Even with their densification, they feel the pinch. They feel the spectrum squeeze. Even with all those tower sites in LA, they're still congested. I'm guessing there are moments in Boston where that happens. In Philly, that may happen. In New York City, they're just big markets with a lot of Verizon users. Ultra wideband is going to be a big piece of their capacity. That's going to take time to build, but they will do it. C-band is going to be huge for them. CBRS is going to be huge for them as well. All the carriers need to densify. Verizon's furthest ahead in relation to that. Verizon has the most tower sites. They've got the most small cells. They just need spectrum. AT&T has to prove its densification. They've got a lot of spectrum. They aggregate a lot of stuff. So obviously they're an imperfect network. And then T-Mobile lacks densification. They've got incredible spectrum holdings. They just need to build out the tower sites and do the upgrades, right? So no carrier is perfect, and we've come to learn every region is different too. And every state is different, and every city and market is different. If I was going to be perfectly candid with you guys, after watching Moose's live stream where he was speed testing Verizon, I came to the realization that in LA, if you have Verizon as your primary carrier, you will experience moments of congestion. And it might be wise to have a second device with either like a high priority prepaid option on a network that's less congested, i.e. AT&T. I would most definitely be looking at it like, yeah, Verizon has the best coverage. Yeah, Verizon's got incredible call quality. But if they're going to be congested, you're going to have a second carrier if you really want to keep that Verizon line. Until Verizon gets more spectrum. You got to build out the ultra wideband. You got to upgrade the CBRS, the band 48. You got to upgrade the C-band as soon as that becomes available. And the carriers just have to embrace the grind. More and more tower sites. Whoever wins 5G, I don't know when you're going to make that assessment. 2030, 2040, I don't know. The winner of 5G will be the company that can effectively build out the most concentrated tower grid and macro and micro sites. Small cells, ultra wideband support where it's needed. The company that does that the most extensively, the most effectively, is going to be the best 5G network. Embrace the grind. Get those permits. Build those tower sites, make those upgrades, and spend that money. It's as simple as that. The problem with T-Mobile has been the CapEx. We're hoping that changes this year. We'd like to see, T-Mobile come in and spend double what they've been spending. They've been spending $6.5 billion, right? That's got to jump up to 13, 15, 16 billion. Some people say if they don't go up to 20 billion, they ain't going to make it. I don't want to jump that, I don't want to jump off the rails here. I'd like to see them at least start with like a $15 or $16 billion a year and then go from there. Allow them to scale, reap the benefits of their build, let them make some money and do it that way. AT&T is probably going to continue to spend, in the range of like 21, 22 billion. It's going to take a lot of money. I'm telling you guys, the only way for a carrier to win in 5G is literally going to be tower sites everywhere. Because if you don't, the capacity needs can't be met. You can't have one fast tower, one slow tower. One area that's not congested, and then an area that is. Because they all kind of work together. Right? It's kind of like your chain is only as strong as your weakest link. So if every link is strong, then your network is bulletproof. That's the one thing I'm noticing as I'm looking at the most successful markets when it comes to the way that carriers build a market. In the CLE, Verizon's network is so reliable, it never falters. I don't get slowdowns. I don't get deprioed. It doesn't glitch when I do live streams. It doesn't disconnect. There's very few spots that the signal is not strong. It's so good here. AT&T is pretty good too. The FirstNet has a couple of spots. Gene, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate you, man. Thanks very much. The super chats have been hard to come by, Gene, so I appreciate it. The T-Mobile's issue here in the CLE has been tower handoffs. So I'm looking to see if T-Mobile's problem is tower grid, lack of densification, will their upgrades change everything? That's what I'm excited to see in 2021. The only thing I'm concerned about is T-Mobile seems to be moving away from small cells, which I'm not a fan of. Small cells made Verizon's network possible, meaning if they didn't have it, they wouldn't have their capacity. And small cells made AT&T's C-RAN projects the best part about their network. Yeah, the macro sites are great, and you could deploy a bunch of low band, the band 14, the band 12 upgrades. All that stuff is awesome. The band 30, all that's tremendous. But if you don't effectively build out small cells, I'm sorry, but you're going to have network gaps, and you're going to suffer congestion because you can only do so much from a macro site. The small cells work. If you look at the best two networks right now, in my opinion, it's usually AT&T and Verizon. Sometimes they say it's T-Mobile, but if I look at the Cleveland area market, the company that has the most small cells is Verizon, and their network's the best here. And the only company truly competing from a coverage standpoint and a quality standpoint, holding cell phone calls, no call drops, best call quality, consistent data connections. When I live stream, it stays connected, and the resolution is really high. It's Verizon and AT&T. I can't live stream on T-Mobile because of the handoffs with tower sites, I think. And I truly believe if there were more small cells scattered to fill those gaps where the edge handoffs are weak, I think they would live stream just fine. Because when I speed test, it's fast. T-Mobile, most definitely, when it comes to Ookla speed testing, is right up there with AT&T. Seriously, it's fast. The only problem is when I start getting on edge sites, is when I see those disconnections and the disconnects on the live streams. So what that means is I live stream so much that I can't trust T-Mobile to do my Periscope lives or my YouTube lives, which is a big piece of what I do on my channel. Come on, guys, I call a spade a spade. I cannot live stream on T-Mobile, and I think I found out why. I think it's the densification issues. They simply need small cells in some of these areas where the edge sites of cells are too extensive. I don't really have edge sites on Verizon too much. I found one or two spots in the entire area that I work and live. Just a couple spots. AT&T, it's a couple. For T-Mobile, I can't hold the live stream, so I think if they tend to that piece, it becomes a game changer for me. I could learn to trust T-Mobile for my live streams. So basically, I can do everything with my T-Mobile line except live stream, which is half of what I do with my phones, right? I launch a live stream on Periscope. I launch a live stream on T-Mobile. I haven't been able to adequately do it. If you watch my testing from Sunday, I disconnected 3 times on Periscope using T-Mobile. And I truly, truly feel if they had small cells, it wouldn't do that. I really, really believe that. Because the only thing that Verizon and T-Mobile do differently is that Verizon does small cells. The only difference between AT&T and T-Mobile, AT&T does small cells. And those are the 2 networks I trust to live stream, and I can't trust T-Mobile to do the live streams. The live stream disconnects. So I really hope that Neville Ray and the team at T-Mobile, when it comes to the network engineering, I really hope they reconsider. I hope we see an expansion of C-band small cells. I don't know if they want to do with the 2.5 gigahertz. I really, really do hope they change their view on small cells. To show you how important small cells are, look at what Verizon just did. They signed a 15,000 small cell deal. Yeah, it was 15,000, wasn't it? My goodness. And it's over the course of 4 years. So that's pretty much Verizon saying all we care about moving forward is densification via small cells. Verizon does small cells, AT&T does small cells, and T-Mobile is de-emphasizing them. And they're the only one I can't trust to do my live streams. So I'm concerned about that because I think it's the only flaw that T-Mobile has. I really do think that, and I believe that. Because if you think about it, T-Mobile's got Band 71 on lock, right, for long range, right, to really stretch the signal, to cover their gaps. They've got 2.5 gigahertz to offer their capacity layer. The only thing they don't address appropriately and properly is the small cells. That's it. The best 2 networks have them, and the underdog is walking away from them, which I think is a big mistake. I don't know. If you guys want to start a hashtag small cells. Send that to Neville Ray. Tweet at Neville Ray, hashtag small cells. I really do think that is truly their only weakness moving forward. It would address their edge cell issues. It would address capacity issues. It would make it a more reliable handoff when you're going from site to site. Every effective carrier in AT&T and Verizon here in the CLE makes their network better because of the small cells. Hashtag small cells. At Neville Ray on Twitter. Let him know the SMT says get on it, man. Make it happen. So that's pretty much it for the show. The last thing I'll leave you guys with. Last little thing. Do I have any cord cutters out there? Any cord cutters? Anybody who does like streaming video, TV? Sling TV is raising its pricing to new customers. You will see, moving forward, a $5 per month price increase for new customers of their orange and blue package pricing. Now, instead of $30, you are going to be paying $35 a month. And when you combine the orange and the blue pricing, it's going to go from $45 a month to $50 per month. They are throwing in an additional amount of cloud DVR storage. They're going from 10 hours to 50 hours. So that's a nice little bump to give you a little bit something after taking, the pricing and increasing it a little bit. They still do offer a 200-hour DVR option. So if you want that, you just have to pay for it. They still have a $10 off intro offer. So your first month would be $25 if you wanted to try it. There's also a free 3-day trial if you want to give Sling a shot. Current customers are unaffected by this price increase. Rumor has it, though, in the summer of 2021, there will be a price bump coming to existing customers. So if you're currently paying, the $45 a month for the combination plan of the blue and the orange, or if you're paying the $30 a month for the blue or the orange, they're saying that this summer, I think in August, you might be seeing a price increase. No surprises. Streaming TV is getting very expensive. The carriage deals are more expensive. The companies that resell this TV, their pricing for the program is going up, they're going to extend it to the customer. They're not going to eat up that cost, right? It wasn't really a price increase. They dropped the $16 plan and just kept the $20 plan. Look, I don't know. The pricing went up $5. What do you mean it's not going up? I don't know what to tell you. They're telling new customers this is the new pricing. Whatever, Tom. I don't know. Let me know if you're affected by that. Let me know if that changes how you pay for your TV. I don't know if you were thinking about switching to Sling. Maybe that affects you. Maybe that sends you somewhere else. Maybe you're just going to bite the bullet and whatever. Oh, okay. My bad, Tom. My bad, dog. Talking about Philo, whatever. Anyways. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show. I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Go ahead and X out of the live chat and hit that thumbs up button. Thanks very much for that. Let me know how you're watching this. Hashtag 2LiveCrew if you were here during the filming. Hashtag Replay Gang if you're watching this on DVR. Hashtag Ravioli Gang if you're watching this while you're eating dinner or you're hungry. And hashtag Mod Squad if you have a blue name with a blue wrench. I appreciate you very much for holding it down, keeping things kosher in the live chat. Appreciate you guys very much. You're the best. Let's go ahead and hit the outro. If it's your first time here, consider subscribing, becoming a member of the SMT Nation. You can also activate that bell. Turns on notifications so you never miss an upload from the SMT. Do check out the links in the description box. We've got the Twitter handle @SneedTech. We do Periscope Lives on there. It's a lot of fun, community interactions. We also have the Patreon page featured here on the screen capture. There's a link down in the description box. Different tiers to support production here on the YouTube side, as well as additional content on the Patreon page. And you guys are amazing. Thank you for supporting the SMT. We appreciate it very much. Thank you to all the donations. Thank you to everybody who liked this and shared it to your socials. Thank you so much. You can support the channel by doing any of those things and providing any of those hashtags. Comment below if you're watching this on replay. Anything you want to tell me, and I do read all the comments. That's it. We'll leave it at that. We'll hopefully see you very soon for the next podcast, the next edition here on the channel. Stay tuned for more content. We're bringing it to you here on the SMT YouTube channel. You guys are the best. I wish you wealth. I wish you health. Stay safe. Have a good evening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Forgot one more hashtag. Yeah.